like to thank everybody who's to join the call, to join this town hall and provide some quick updates over the past few months. So I know everybody's busy schedule. And I'd like to thank Mika and Kevin Maisha for putting this together and coordinating everything as usual. But we'll go ahead and get started. Go ahead to the next slide. So some of the things we'll talk about, obviously the past 3 months or 4 months, actually, I guess, there's been a lot of, I don't know, a lot of changes, but a lot of moving and shaking from we're in the thick of our planning of our annual meeting for this year. And the past several months, honestly, a lot of focus has been on our advocacy efforts, our legal and regulatory affairs, legislative efforts made over the past couple of months. And so plan on giving a few updates as it pertains to some of the successes and also potential opportunities, because I think there's some really exciting things for us as a profession that we can prepare ourselves for, to even leverage ourselves and a better chance of obtaining what we want to move our profession forward. Other big changes and significant things that has happened, and I know on the back end, many of you may not realize, Maisha, Kevin, and Tamika, they live and work in Tallahassee, and we've had a building. I'm not sure how long we were in that previous building, Tamika, but we recently moved to I would say, an upgraded office for you all. To provide a nice professional space, surrounded by other professional counterparts and other business lines, and obviously, I think we're pretty close to our IT department too, and closer to the Capitol. So that was a big move for us that happened probably about 2 months or so ago, moving from our old facility off of Capitol Circle Northeast to closer to the Capitol. Talk real briefly about our PAC fund, and I'm going to turn things over to Jennifer Miles here to talk about some of our DEI efforts that we have, and kind of wrap up with some more information about our annual meeting. So go ahead, let's move on. We're going to move into legal and regulatory affairs updates. This slide, and if Kathy's on the phone, I would be stealing her line of stating that government is incremental. And 100% agree with that, of taking a few steps forward and a step or two back and moving steps forward. But obviously, as our profession, we need to keep having the eye on the prize of moving that to the next step and cherishing those successes and look for how we can optimize that. This timeline kind of shows you some of the past history, the historical presence of what we've done from our Class 3 licenses and our consultant pharmacist test and treat, and the PrEP Act that happened a few years ago, and some immunizations kind of expanding. And last year, our PBM, and this year we've had a couple things. This year in Tallahassee was kind of different. It was a lot of focus on healthcare this year. And we had several things on our agenda, but one of the things that was successful was PEP HIV, and I'll talk about here in a second, and also talking about payment for consultant pharmacists, and a win in the fact that it was defeated this year. But and I'll talk about remote pharmacy, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. But go ahead, next slide. So this year we had several big legislative efforts that we were trying to put forth, and one I'll touch upon was regarding payment for consultant pharmacists. But before I do that, one of the things that was put forth by one of our pharmacist representatives, Gallup Franklin, he really nudged and kind of got support, and we did get something not ideal for what we're looking for, but it was something that was will help move us in that direction, and that was for post-exposure prophylaxis. That they added a new disease state to the certification process of a collaborative practice agreement. So that is one of those lists that will be updated to include PEP exposure. We're trying to target more of a test and treat aspect, but that didn't make fruition on the Senate bill side. But it did get passed. This particular thing through the certification did get passed through. Another thing that I thought was a successful win was emergency refills of insulin. There's the ability of giving a 3-day supply for products. Insulin has always been kind of funny and gray, just because of you have a whole bottle, and a whole bottle lasts a longer period of time. And this particular bill kind of levied some of that, or removed that gray aspect of allowing a pharmacist to be able to dispense emergency supply of insulin to the patient. And I remember, I think I saw John on here. I remember John making a comment, and I 100% support that belief of, if I have a patient who's needing insulin, I'm giving them the whole bottle no matter what anyways. I'm not worrying about a 3-day supply. But now at least it's in law that we're able to do this. Big thing this year was the talk around Tallahassee was this concept called, or the bill called, Live Healthy. It was a large healthcare bill really focusing on expanding or increasing the healthcare workforces. We wanted, a goal of ours was to get reimbursement for consultant pharmacists working in collaborative practice agreements in health systems. And one of the things that we were trying to push was having insurance requirements to pay for pharmacists similar to that of a ARMP or a PA. However, it was made clear to us that this particular bill, this Live Healthy, a focus was not dealing with any insurance issues. It was all focused a lot on how do we increase the workforce. And so a lot of that increased workforce, you would see about loan forgiveness and reimbursement to facilities regarding medical programs. And Gallup Franklin had the idea, and we are trying to finesse some legislative, and I think this will be able for us to come back to add to next year, but I think we're a little bit late in the game this, but looking at opportunities for our profession of pharmacists, because in these particular bill, it talks about reimbursement, residency programs, student programs for dental, medical, nursing, ARP, and other health professionals. But for pharmacists, it didn't really have anything in there for us. And I think it was just an oversight that I think is going to be a focus next year for us to update this legislative. He felt we are confident that there is a potential that we could even seek reimbursement for residency programs, including potentially PGY1 supplement funding, as well as PGY2 funding, potentially. So that is something that we're going to be trying to tackle and focusing on next year. The reimbursement for consultant pharmacist piece, and we're working with our lobbyists and our expert, Gray Robinson, about how can we find the vehicle to put our legislative language into. And that was kind of the challenge for a lot of legislative-based healthcare-related bills, of what vehicle could we find it. We're working closely with the FHA and also the FMA. We actually went to that. We discussed with the FMA lobbyists about terminology of what we want and what they recommend for that, and they helped us write some of our legislation for us. So we're confident, and we did get support from FMA regarding that ask of reimbursement for a consultant pharmacist in a healthcare setting. FHA has verbally spoke to us and said and committed that this will be a priority for the FHA organization for this coming up year in legislation about how to obtain pharmacist funding for consultant pharmacists in a healthcare setting. So we really teed ourselves up for the next legislative session, and I feel really optimistic and confident that we'll make some big significant headways that direction. All right, next. There was a 340B parity bill that was trying to put in place by Senator Jason Brodeur. However, it really didn't make too much traction. There was a Senate bill that was put in, but no House bill. And we're trying to put in some guardrails, safeguards protecting 340B entities. However, it died in the aspect of banking and insurance, and more likely something like that will come back in the next year as well. Next slide. This was a win, and it started gaining a lot of, honestly, surprisingly, some momentum in both the Senate and the House. I got to say, part of legislative days, that a tremendous effort was put forth by students in the collaboration we've had with FPA on this effort, sharing similar interests. But a lot of it was done specifically to this piece, And I think a lot of us contribute to the defeat of it because of our pharmacy students. It was surprisingly that some of the sponsors of the bill, when we were up there, legitimately thought that, hey, I have a bill that I think is going to help you all. And they mentioned this particular Senate Bill 444 and House Bill 493. And when we told them that we were strongly opposing it, it was really caught them off guard and they wanted to know why. This will be a bill that will come back this year. I think some of the big reasons why it was defeated this year was it was very broad and very loose in the language. And essentially, what this piece of legislation was asking for a new pharmacy permit here in the state of Florida, calling it a remote pharmacy permit. And this remote pharmacy would have the ability to be staffed by a pharmacy technician and a remote pharmacist supervisor at an offsite location. That remote pharmacist offsite can manage up to four of these remote pharmacies. There was no guardrails put into place regarding the number of prescriptions, the number of technicians that could be supervised, nor the actions or acts that a pharmacist needs to do. This was gained by a lot of support by several different entities, and the claim was a shortage of pharmacists in the state of Florida, leading to reduction in workforces, leading to less hours for community pharmacies to be open, i.e., not closing at 6 p.m. on a Saturday or even open on a Saturday or Sunday. Weekdays, reduction of hours. And the idea was this will allow pharmacy technicians to work remotely and to dispense remotely. But one big piece of this legislation was the pharmacists still had to perform all the same functions of verification and validation as they're currently doing now, but doing it remotely. Controlled substances was in this piece. So it was very loose. I worked for Cleveland Clinic, and I know my counterparts in Ohio, they had a similar bill being presented. It too did not get passed. However, it will also, the sentiment is it will also get brought back forth again. But their difference between their bill and our bill was there's a lot more guardrails put into place about the remote pharmacist has to be in the state of Ohio. They have to be no more than X number of scripts, QA, Board of Pharmacy oversight, and other pieces to it. I think this will come back. I'm positive will come back for next year. And I think one of the things that myself and FSHP need to strongly collaborate with the FPA to make sure that the language that wants to get presented that we're supportive of or envisioning of, because it will come back. And then leading to the next slide, I'll kind of show you some. Go ahead, make your next slide. Here's a representation from 2006 to 2020. You can see we're in blue where it's currently permitted, but practice there's some form of restriction and permitted where a technician can be dispensing or telepharmacy. The darker gray is states that are currently in progress of evaluating that, and then the blue state, light gray is not currently permitted or hasn't been investigated yet. And you can see over the course of the past 15 years, more and more of this remote technician dispensing or remote verification or remote pharmacies is taking place. Next slide. I've been sitting in several ASHP state affiliate calls, and the past couple of calls, the discussion that ASHP is going to be putting more efforts is a position and stance and asking for their state affiliates to support this nomenclature concept of pharmacy technician product verifier, TVM. And basically is outlined, and it could be listed as a variety of different aspects of, mainly it's kind of the concept of tech check tech, but it's a type of activity that's allowed, applicable practice settings, what are the training application qualifications. Now, could it be technology assisted technician verification? I think that a lot of states have some form of legislation regarding that. Even our own state of Florida, we have some technician technology assisted verification, especially in our health systems. That's where I use it and see it at. But more to come. I know ASHP has been putting more effort into and advertising regarding this pharmacy technician product verifier. Go ahead, next slide. I would be remiss not to thank for FSHP to thank our two pharmacists that are currently in the state legislation, Shane Abbott and Gallup Franklin, both huge, instrumental in a lot of different pieces to the things that we're trying to get done and support, from the remote pharmacy the remote dispensing, and the payers and connections and collaborations. A lot of our support and PAC dollars have gone to both these gentlemen, and they're huge advocates for us and our profession. So if you ever have the opportunity to shake their hand, thank them, and donate to their funds and donate to our funds, they'll be more than welcome and greatly appreciated. We're very fortunate to have two pharmacists in the legislation right now. Next time. And kind of going into our PAC advocacy, it's something that we hear over at every annual meeting that we have, and it's truly a need as we try to make these incremental gains in legislation, that it takes money in order to get us at the table to be able to present this stuff. And especially having two pharmacists like Shane and Gallup, it is tremendous for us to be able to provide, and exciting for FSHP to provide our support to them. We have goals each year for the past 2 years of raising $50,000, and we've kind of fell short over the past couple of years, and we're starting to lose funds. And this is where we really need support from you all, from our members, and from everybody else to help start contributing to that. And if you go to the next slide, there's obviously various different avenues for us to contribute. Personally, myself, it's easier for me to justify it to my wife to do it over per month. And so we budgeted per month, and you're able to do monthly contributions to fshp.org. So I encourage you all, if you can, do what you can to help support. There's other events that we have at our annual meeting and local events, but we need to get out there, and it's by us being able to do this. So please consider if you're able to. All right, transitioning into DEI. And so I'd like to hand over the next few slides over to Jennifer Miles. So Jennifer, you on?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. It's nice to see everyone for this event this evening. We're just going to take a few moments to talk to you a little bit about some of the DEI work, excuse me, that we've been doing, and to hopefully get people excited about getting involved. We've got a great committee, and we've got some outstanding activities. So next slide. We'll begin talking a little bit about where this came from. So as many of you are aware, a lot of the initiatives that we work on at a state level are relevant to things that FSHP is looking at for guidance from ASHP. So ASHP put out a statement, as you can see here, regarding DEI and providing support for us as healthcare professionals to ensure that not only do we look at this in society and in the way we interact with each other as good citizens, but also as professionals. In the next slide, it talks a little bit more detail about some of the things with regards to not just the basic principles, but then also the work that DEI is doing in terms of advocating for growth and equal opportunities, and really, that equal treatment is at the essence of a lot of the things that we'll be working on as professionals, and then by an extension to that, as an organization. So at the national level, ASHP is really trying to advocate for ensuring that the profession keeps pace with a lot of issues that are really relevant to us, again, just as citizens, and is realistic to some of those needs, and is really advocating for that work to help to lead to the growth and development of individuals from across different backgrounds to ensure appropriate representation. Next slide. So with that in mind, we here in FSHP have taken our leads with this and developed, as you can see here, a vision and mission statement as well as a diversity statement. The leadership within FSHP, from the board of directors to the officers to the leads of the various committees and councils, really take this to heart and have tried to ensure that we implement strategies across the board that will be able to keep up with this charge and with the principles and promises that are being made in things like the vision and mission, as well as the diversity that we stand behind, and being able to put that work into place. Next slide. So here we have some of the tenets as to what the diversity, equity, and inclusion that FSHP as an organization is advocating for. You can see here that with each one of these tenets that make up the acronym DEI, FSHP is really focused on all of the different things that we can do as an organization to really help ensure that the body of this organization represents the body of our population as a profession across the state of Florida. And we are very fortunate that across our state, we have folks that represent a lot of different backgrounds. And we want to ensure that everyone feels appreciated, seen, and respected for that contribution that they make to the profession and certainly to our organization. Next slide. So with this, we basically, are trying to continue the efforts that we're engaged in. A committee was formed within the last couple of years, and our focus here is to ensure that the membership, again, is going to be as diverse as the population and as the membership that we support and represent. Having the DEI committee, will help to ensure that that diversity and representation is realistically represented and appropriately carried forward in our membership. And then from there, we also want to make sure that the committee serves to be able to support a lot of these efforts that need to be put into place. We want to make sure that the DEI initiatives are not only just within the specific DEI committee, but that we help to support and ensure that representation across the different committees, as well as within the board as well itself. And then ultimately to ensure that whether it is with staff at the colleges of pharmacy, leaders, and stakeholders, we really want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to be true stalwarts and representatives of DEI. Next slide. The committee then broke up into different task groups. So from within that major DEI umbrella that the committee represents, we've got different subgroups within it. So there's the governance subcommittee, the education and training subcommittee, and strategic planning subcommittee. And really with each one, they're tasked with ensuring different deliverables that we can help work again across FSHP's leadership team, and then as well with our members, and then of course into the community to ensure that we are continuing on that vision, mission, and diversity statement goals and being able to see those outcomes come to fruition. Next slide. So this is not just within the committee, but as you can see here, we've got our representatives and our members from the DEI committee, as well as the other committees that are really making sure that they are good advocates and representation of the work that we're doing in FSHP. So whether it's at our annual meeting or at Capitol Hill when we go for the annual legislative week through ASHP, we really try to ensure that we're properly representing what FSHP as a group is standing for, and again, carrying out those tenets of the various subcommittees within the main DEI committee. Next slide. And so you can see that with all of the events that we're having, our annual meeting, which just a little plug, that's going to be coming up soon. And we sincerely hope to see a lot of the folks here on the line as well as other colleagues there. But that presence and support really allows us to carry forward many of these initiatives relating to, again, that equality and ensuring appropriate representation through our organization. Next slide. So some of the initiatives that we have, myself and Jeff, whom I saw on the line, we're co-leads of our governance subcommittee, and we've been working on a number of initiatives, whether it's working with recommendations that we're putting together to meet with the board to discuss to ensure alignment of a lot of these efforts that we're doing to make sure if it's candidates, if it's folks that are being recognized for certain outstanding accomplishments. Again, we really want to make sure that feedback that the membership has given throughout the recent years is taken seriously and that you see that a lot of that work is being done in order to make sure that everyone feels again that their accommodations, that their successes are recognized, and that it's done again in a way of equality. Erin Johnson and Marielle Ciade serve as our lead and co-lead, respectively, of our education and training subcommittee. They've been working on a number of activities as well that are focused on increasing the knowledge and training in DEI. They're also working to try and make sure that we can do some standardization and streamlining of that across different practice areas and in patient care. We've also got Melanie Perry, whom is part of that that subcommittee, that's also working on some event planning and observances. So again, for many of us in our organizations, we see this happening where we want to ensure that we are doing appropriate recognition of whether it's a particular cultural month, whether it's a month recognizing a group, or a week to recognize the contribution of women pharmacists from the LGBTQ community, whatever it is, that we are ensuring that it is being done again with the utmost respect, and that it is being done in a way that really puts forward great accomplishments of our membership. And then Sharzetta James and John Hickman serve as our lead and co-lead respectively for our strategic planning subcommittee. And with this group, they're focused on establishing some data collection and some baseline demographics that'll help with some of the strategic initiatives that we're working on across the state within our profession. And really, this is to take a look at where we are right now at baseline in our current state, and then kind of help to set a trajectory, if you will, to ensure, again, not only just meeting those tenets from our mission, vision, and diversity statements, but also for the future to continue on the successes of our profession. Next slide. We're working right now with engagement, with nominations, and we do ask that if you haven't had an opportunity already, every year the board of directors and our leadership team really try to do a great job about recognizing people that are making outstanding contributions from within our membership to our profession and to us overall in our success as pharmacists. So some of the things that we're looking at is to try and make sure that we've got a really great representation within these different award categories. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please do visit the site and submit, if you can, a colleague or yourself for one of these awards. We really want to make sure that we highlight and elevate the work that everybody is doing. And this is, again, one of the areas where our subcommittee is trying to work with the board of directors and our leadership team to make sure, again, that we've got solid candidates for all of these various and respective awards. Next slide, please. So what can you do? Getting involved with the subcommittee will really help to ensure that we not only carry out on these different tasks, but also that it'll make us better. So with increased membership and participation, we will see greater, and fresher perspectives on what we're doing with our initiatives. It'll help to strengthen us through the future generations of pharmacy getting involved. We've got some great former students, now either residents or current working professionals that have joined various committees throughout our organization. And you see how having that involvement really helps to improve a lot of the work that we're doing and make it something that keeps everybody engaged and involved with our membership across the state. It also will help leadership opportunities and participating in task groups. There are, again, as you can see, the 3 subcommittees, there's really great opportunities to get involved. And then also the ability to work with the colleges of pharmacy. We've been fortunate that we've gotten some student members engaged and that are participating in our meetings. And so being involved in the DEI subcommittee will afford you an opportunity to be able to work with that group, and also, again, provide some opportunities for leadership and mentorship. Next slide. So if you're interested in becoming a member, as you've probably seen, we currently have open opportunities to consider the different councils from across our organization. We really encourage you to consider joining the DEI subcommittee. Again, we've got some really great work that we're already doing and would really love to have additional members that would be able to help further that work. And we've got an excellent leadership team here with our chair and vice chair that are just doing great things, and as well as our task group lead. So if you're interested, you can see under the involvement opportunities area of our FSHP page where you can select under the council's committees and task forces an option there, and you can submit an application to be part of our subcommittee.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I'm just going to jump right in. You kind of led me into it with your plug about the annual meeting. So, Bill, okay for me to jump in?
Go
So
for it.
I know that everyone on the meeting has already registered. If not, Kevin is dropping the link in the chat as we speak. So you can go ahead and register for the meeting. Don't forget that early bird deadline is May 30th. Don't wait until then, but most of you probably will, and we'll take it all the way up until 11:59 for those early bird rates. So we know that the dates are different this year, and we've tried to make sure that we publicize that as much as we could and just make sure that your colleagues know, because I think everybody is always looking for that first weekend of August. But this year it's the last week of July. So just close, but not the same. So please just make sure that all of your colleagues are aware. And we are hoping that you all are planning to join us. Kevin, did you drop that in the chat for us already? All right. And also Jennifer was talking about the component sign up. We have an annual meeting page to make it easy for everyone to find all of the aspects regarding the annual meeting. So in that link, you'll be able to find all of the deadlines. So one of those will also be the component link. Today is poster abstract submission deadline. And we've been seeing them, I've been seeing them come through in my email throughout the day, which is wonderful, but you still have time. You have until 11:59 p.m. tonight to get that poster submitted. This is a great place to submit your poster. We always have close to 40. This can be a pharmacist resident poster, or it can be a student poster. So please go ahead and get those submissions in by 11:59. If you have any problems, please go ahead and send that information to us in our contact form so that we can try and remedy that before the deadline approaches. Next deadline I want to talk about is the awards, and Jennifer already put a plug in that April 22nd is the deadline for awards. Today, Bill challenged all of our board members, nominate at least 2 colleagues for an award. We have some great awards. We have a lot of awards, and I don't think people take the time to actually stop and see how many awards. And I'm sure if you read some of the descriptions and the eligibility, you would think of someone who would be deserving of that award. So we urge you to go to our awards page. You have until April 22nd. Nominate at least 2 colleagues for an award. House of Delegates resolutions. For those of you who have attended our House of Delegates that precedes our annual meeting, if you have a resolution that you want brought to the floor of the House, go ahead and talk to your colleagues. Contact FSHP if you're not really sure what needs to go in a resolution. I'm going to plug Michelle Weiser, who's on tonight, our past president, and she has been our parliamentarian for years. She keeps us on track. I don't think anyone is more knowledgeable about the House of Delegates than Michelle Weiser. So thank you in advance for being there, Michelle. But I don't know if Farima's on. I didn't see that she was on. If she wants to jump in and also put a plug, Farima Ralph is our chair of the House of Delegates this year. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our staff, but you have a week or so to get those resolutions in. This year, we made it a little bit easier for you. We've automated the whole process, so you don't have to go writing in your information, or we've made it easy for you to just put that information, copy and paste it into a box and hit submit, and it comes directly to us. So any questions, again, you can contact the FSHP staff. Here are just some other deadlines that are coming up. I've already gone over the poster, awards, and House of Delegate resolutions. A fellow, though most of you are familiar with ASHP fellow, but FSHP a couple years ago also implemented our state fellowship. It is a prestigious honor. To date, I want to say we still have less than 50. So it is still an honor to be one of the first 100. I said, if I'm still around, I want us to be able to, capture those first 100 fellows of FSHP. But it is a process, but it's a process because of how prestigious we, uphold this position, this status. So you have until May 3rd to get those applications in. We do encourage self-nominations because you do have to put a lot of information in about your career as a pharmacist thus far. So board candidates, I'm sure that Bill will tell you how wonderful it has been for him. Bill has served on the board. He has served now as president. So he's got a total of 6 years. And I see some other board members did join in tonight. Previous board members, Jeremy Lund, Jeff. Hello, everybody. You have a lot of people. Dionys, who's going to be coming in as president pretty soon. I'm sure he's not rushing it, but he is up next. But there's a lot of your colleagues that you could probably speak with on being a board member of FSHP. I've worked with many of you who have sat in these roles, and FSHP is really something to brag about amongst ASHP state affiliates. And I can say that with a smile, and I can say that loudly because I do believe it, because it is true. And I'm sure Bill feels the same way when he's amongst his colleagues at ASHP. So if that is a desire of yours to be on the board of directors for FSHP, that application is there. Again, any questions, you are welcome to reach out to us. So mark these dates down. With that information in the chat, you'll be able to find more details about all of these deadlines.
Before you go to this part, this is my favorite part.
Go back.
Go back. If you don't mind, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mika, because I really do. I'm super excited about that. But go back to the annual meeting dates. And I'm not that we touch too much time on this, but I want to be transparent because I get a lot of comments or feedback from members. Go back about the date. Why did the date change? And because I know that it has an impact. We've always been very consistent with our date and planning that wise. And I know people reached out to me and say, hey, Bill, why have we changed today? And I want to kind of give everybody an update. I mean, not to, hopefully I'm allowed to do it, but anyways, I'll do it anyways. We're very fortunate. I mean, I know my current health system and others, we're still recovering from COVID. And during this time of COVID, if you recall, several years ago, our annual meeting got canceled. And that year that it got canceled, we were supposed to have a meeting at the Rosen Center Hotel. And we signed a contract, we signed an agreement that we would pay a certain amount of money to go and have our annual meeting there. But Mr. Rosen, being a business partner, an exceptional business partner to us at the time, decided not to fulfill that obligation that we had with our contract. That we owed in that agreement because of COVID. He let us break away from that contract, that financial obligation. So being a good business partner with Rosen and many of these hotels in Orlando, we felt that it would be a good act as a business partner with him to allow us to come back to his hotel, come back to the Rosen Center Hotel. Now, in order for us to facilitate this is the date that as close as possible in order to do that. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And we're going to go back to the date the next year, but we're just trying to catch back up from COVID. Now, Tamika, did I hit that out right on the head?
That is correct.
All right, perfect.
We still had to fulfill the obligation. Like, we wouldn't have been released from the obligation. We still had to fulfill it. And this is, we were already contracted out through 2023, and 2024 was our first opening. So that's where we had to fulfill this obligation.
And that's why I wanted to put that out there for everybody, because I know it's a different time and it's going to look a little different. Because honestly, our growth, exciting as it is, we don't fit in this. I mean, we need bigger hotels, but more to come on that. I mean, more to come later on as we continue, hopefully, our growth. All right, next slide. Sorry. And obviously, you touched on the poster. The next time, the awards. Again, thank you for doing that. We just had a nice conversation with Jennifer regarding about DEI and involvement. But I think the pivotal part, especially for for us to showcase this, is the nominations from people. Please nominate. I challenge you all to go nominate 2 people, because that's what's really going to start creating a lot of that diversity and that recognition that people need. Truly, it's an honor. I mean, it makes a person feel good, especially if you nominate them. So nominate when you can. And the House of Delegates, you touched on the fellow. Going on one piece about the fellow. for a lot of the new practitioners on the phone, the fellowship, go to the next slide. The fellow applications. For a lot of new practitioners or even people who are looking for opportunities for professional development. Now, you may not meet all the criteria to be recognized as a fellow, but I encourage you to go to the FSHP website, look at the fellow applications, and look at the criteria, because that might be a great tool for you to incite you or give you ideas of how you can continue your own professional development. I've always found that tool, that especially our FSHP fellowship tool, to be very robust in that mindset. So I encourage all the new practitioners, residents on the phone, or recently grad residents and students to go look at that fellow applications and give you ideas for your own professional development. All right, that's it. Good. Last, again, before this, another one piece. So I want to end on this. That's why I'm kind of saving this, Mika.
Let's go back.
Is also one of the pieces that we're working to. I'll come back at another town hall, but we're Dias, myself, Andrew, Heather,
Jeff,
George,
Farima.
and Farima, Jeff and Farima are getting prepared for our House of Delegates, ASHP House of Delegates in Portland here in June. We reviewed and made our preliminary votes for probably, I think if I recall, it's either 13 or 19 resolutions that are being presented at the ASHP House of Delegates in Portland. So once we go through that, we'll bring back to our town hall and to FSHP some of the things that were discussed at that. All right, go ahead, Mika.
We ready to party now?
I'm ready to party.
Okay. So we are very excited. For those of you who were around as long as I've been, and I'm not even gonna call anybody's names, but we used to have parties to end the annual meeting a long time ago before we did the Disneys and the SeaWorlds. We used to have an on-site party. So at the Gaylord, we witnessed another group that had a party. And it was just fabulous. And some of our great members came back and said, we want to do this. We should have a party where we invite all of the attendees and families and vendors to just have a great time to end the annual meeting. So we came up with the theme, the Glow Party. And so we are hoping that we can get all of our members, all of our attendees that are there to come out, have a good time, and then get up early Sunday morning and finish out the meeting. So we're excited about the Glow Party. There is no fee to attend. Your fee is your registration to the meeting admits you to the party. So excited about that. No pre-registration required, just attend. Bill's gonna wear some like glow pants.
Oh, absolutely.
Stuff and do a
But
great.
here's my thought on this. I didn't make this a charge for this year because, again, the feedback. And you didn't disclose the other group, and I will. And it was a Tupperware party. All right. It was a Tupperware convention party. We see all these people coming out having such a great time. And I feel that I know a lot of, including myself, we have a very stoic and type A personality, may not feel like we can get let loose, but I think we could beat Tupperware. So that is my goal, is to be better than that. And I think we can do that.
All right.
I'm excited for this particular aspect of it.
Good deal.
So go ahead. I'd like to conclude with as an open discussion. People have the opportunity to ask questions and or insights about anything that we discussed today or anything else. I see I think Dias is on the phone too as our president-elect. We can chime in. Or anybody else?
Don't see any hands.
As we prepare ourselves, I'd like to take the time to thank all the people who are on the phone. I'd like to thank all of our component chairs, our component co-chair, vice chairs, all the members in those components for all the diligent and hard work that you do. I really think, I think Tamika's understatement of me, one of the things that I've been privileged with this position to see and fortunate to see is our society and how and who we are and how proud I am of Florida and of us. Going to mid-year this past year, that and seeing other organizations and seeing where we are at compared to others has really humbled me, and but also excited to see where we are and how we compare. But it all takes is the engagement from you all. And our future as a profession and as an organization will stimulate from your all's engagement.
You know,
I see a chat from Michelle. If anybody has a resolution idea and needs assistance, thank you, Michelle. Please reach out to Michelle and she will be happy to help you. Michelle also made a comment saying before parties, we had banquets. And parties replaced the formal banquets.
Parties are a lot more fun than the banquets.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see what a banquet looked like.
well, I didn't know if Dennis could come off mute if he wanted to say anything as well, or any other board members.
Well, I know sometimes, I mean, we have a handful of people still.
Yeah.
And, if always, if you don't feel comfortable speaking up here, please feel free to reach out to myself or Diana about anything.
Hey guys, sorry, I'm in the car. My phone's been really choppy and the kids are here with me.
Nope, no worries.
We're heading towards family vacay for a few days, so
Fun.
apologize for the inactivity.
Well, I hear that there's a cruise going on in the Southeast chapter.
I did hear the same.
Thank you, Dionys.
All right, guys, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, or any concerns or ideas about anything, or if you had comments about getting involved, being a president-elect, or being a board member, or getting on a component. You know, I recently recalled my story of how I got involved, and I mentioned this group too. I got on residency, and when I got on my residency, I had a mentor, a director that said, "Bill, you're going to be the president of the Treasure Coast chapter of Health System Pharmacists." And I go, "Okay, Bill, you're going to sit on the educational council for FSHP." And I did. He said, "Bill, I want you speaking at the next conference for FSHP," and I did. And he challenged that. And I know that as directors and leaders and other people, we need to challenge our incoming pharmacy profession to be similar for our professional organizations. And so I like to challenge you all that too, is to get those guys and not so much tell them that they need to do it, but strongly advocate and encourage them to be active.
And one last thing before we go, Kevin, can you chime in?
So, yeah, we have a little bit of a surprise that we're going to be sharing later on. We're building a Spotify playlist for Glow Party, and we just started today, and apparently some of our staff ideas are not the best. And so we're going to open it up. We're going to post something on social media probably this week to request ideas for songs for the playlist. So if you see that, that's a good way that you can contribute. I'm not saying the playlist will be played at the party, but it's a good, like, getting in the mood for the party kind of a thing. So so let the ideas fly when you see that post come out, and help us build it up.
Just know when you hear Macarena, that was Maisha.
And you know, some have to be, I'll put it out there. Again, this is a family event. So not to highlight any particular music genre or style or singer.
Kevin's gonna be looking
filtering
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the master controller of the playlist, so I won't let anything go on there. But yeah, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a good diversity of styles of music, different generations of music. So we figured probably the best thing is just to get get our audience involved in making the playlist. It'll be more fun that way.
Very cool. Well, guys,
All right,
thank you all
thank
for attending
you.
tonight. Hope you all have a enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of the week. Thank you all.